excited about this one just because, this is very different for me. And my special guest today is myself, yours truly. Um, yes, I'm just going to get started with thank you, everybody that's joining. If you find any kind of content or you like any of this whatsoever, please like, comment, and follow. Please share it with somebody. This is a very, very, very small podcast, and this is probably one of the biggest achievements that I've ever had in my life, and I'm very passionate about it. I really love doing it, and I love all of the feedback that I get from you guys. This is absolutely crazy. So, today's episode is about me. I've had a lot of questions over the last few months about my upbringing, where I've come from, how I got to where I am now, a little bit more about my family. It might sound a little creepy, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more about it. We'll just start off with I'm from Illinois. I was raised in California. I have two brothers. I have a mom, which is absolutely amazing and gave me the absolute best upbringing that I could have ever hoped for. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. There is a level of persistence that you cannot be trained, and she gave me that. And I'm very blessed to have gotten that from her. She ran away from a very abusive relationship in Illinois. I do not know much about it just because I was so young at the time, but I have heard horror stories from all of my brothers and my mother about that abusive relationship, and I have the utmost respect for every person that has ever survived that type of relationship. Not to mention the fact that she raised three boys. Like, that's hard to do in itself. So I have the utmost respect for that woman. She ran away from an abusive relationship in a U-Haul with three boys to live on her friend's floor. Like, her parents wouldn't take her back in because they were upset that she left her husband. So her friend opened her door and she went to work until she can afford to get a place of her own. Like, that's fucking persistence. When, as a parent myself, when you are put into a position where you need to buck up and shut the fuck up and do what you need to do to provide for your children, that's something that you can't train. There's so many people out there that have been blessed with a child that do not take care of that child. It's the truth. And I am beyond excited for another child to come into my life. It's absolutely crazy, but let's keep on track. So, as a young child, I think the first thing that I could remember is, being around my grandparents. My mom was a single mom. She was doing her thing. We moved around a lot. We lived, from what I could tell, paycheck to paycheck. And it was in very beat up areas, very, poorly funded areas. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for that woman. She did whatever she could to provide for her boys. So, continuing on to that track, I have two brothers. I'm the youngest of the three. I don't know if you could tell. If you do know me, you might know that my oldest brother is his own way. He's an entrepreneur, and he's actually been on the show. My middle brother is a newly entrepreneur after going through the governmental steps and really seeing that the government wasn't a fit for him. And then there's me, which worked for the government and is working on being an entrepreneur. So, as you can see, the two of them combined are me. They are absolutely incredible people. And growing up, my oldest brother was absolutely crazy. And he would do anything and everything to mentally manipulate me and my middle brother, which, you would only expect from the oldest brother to the middle and the youngest brother. So we played baseball. We did skateboarding. We lived in rough communities. Um, by all means, we should have been all in very different positions. When you are a teenager growing up in a very lower class neighborhood, when you're surrounded by drugs and you're surrounded by violence and you're surrounded by theft and you're surrounded by everything that you could imagine could go wrong, did go wrong, and being jumped all the time and being robbed and all of the things that you could think happen in a very poor community happened to me and my middle brother and my oldest brother. And I don't mean to put either one of them on blast, but my oldest brother was running around doing graffiti and doing all kinds of other things that are very not legal. My middle brother was, out selling drugs and doing all kinds of other crazy shit, running with the wrong people until he joined the military, which some of the military folks that do watch this show know that there are a lot of people in the military that do not fucking abide by the rules. The military is like a saving grace for most people that grew up in shitty ass areas because here, sign up. We're going to give you a bonus for signing up. We're going to send you to training. We're going to completely wipe your brain of all the information that you think you know, and we're going to tell you what you have to know. That's the long and short of it. Going back to what we were talking about, growing in that neighborhood, going to high school and gaming the system because I went to high school. I went to a high school where there was probably, from my freshman class to my senior year, there was 10 deaths within the school that were not medically related. I know that's not the worst in America, but it's also not the best to really grow and thrive through the school system. When you're surrounded by the hustle mentality, you learn how to hustle. When your parents have no money and they don't have money for you to buy clothes and for you to have the nicest shoes and for you to have all the things that everybody else around you has, you learn how to hustle. You find a way. If you think about all of the luxuries that we have in America, all of the luxuries, if you think about even the homeless people have more money than the people that are in third world countries. The homeless people. We are very blessed to have the things that we have. I am very grateful for the things that I have around me. All of this stuff around me, everything, to wake up every morning, very grateful. To be where I'm at now, very grateful. And like I go back to the beginning and say, the upbringing I had should have put me somewhere else. It should have. But I chose a different path. And at any point in your life, when you stop making excuses and you start making choices for yourself, you could choose a different path to go down too. You don't have to be flipping burgers, even though Karen said that you have to be flipping burgers. You don't have to be somebody that's spraying for bugs, even though you feel like that's your only option. There's a different option out there, I promise. And if you do the research, pretty sure you're going to find something better that's going to make you happy. I'm pretty sure. But back on track. Growing up, two brothers, crazy mom, stepdad that I'm pretty sure wanted to kill all three of us. Pretty sure. There was one day, funny story. This kind of dives. I was probably 14 years old. This is literally the first story that I could think of when I think of my stepdad wanting to kill us. My Me and my brother were hanging out. We lived in a shitty area. I think I was 14, like 14 years old. You don't really know what's going on at 14. You might think you know, because I know there's a lot of parents that watch this that have teenagers, and those teenagers think they know what's going on, but they don't. But they like to think they know. I'm about to have a teenager and a little baby girl. So, pretty terrified on the teenager side. So I was 14 years old. We were hanging out in our little shitty ass apartment complex. We lived in the ghetto. My brother went to the store because the store would sell him alcohol as he was 16. Yes, there were stores that were selling underage kids alcohol in Natomas. Yes, the Nutty North, as the people in the Nutty still call it. And I was hanging out with a few of my buddies. My brother went to get, I think it was 240s of the High Life or 32s of the High Life, whatever it is. It's cold. I have a bomber jacket on. This is one of many experiences I had with law enforcement growing up. Uh, my brother comes around the corner. He's like, "Here, man." He gives me two of these Miller High Lifes, and they're huge. They fit my bomber jacket perfectly though. And we're hanging out, shooting the shit, like 14-year-old drinking beer, you know, as most kids in the ghetto do. Dumb shit. 14-year-old drinking beer, and my brother's just hanging out. He hears something. He sees a flashlight from around the corner. We're like behind the back of our office building for the apartment complex. Sees a flashlight around the corner, takes off. Boom, takes off the other way. No shit. I had no clue what's going on. Completely oblivious to anything and everything that has to do with law enforcement. And brother's taking off. There's two officers taking off after him. Me taking quick action. It's like, fuck this. I'm not staying here. I take off the other way around the office. And it was like maybe two buildings away was our apartment. I run inside. I still have this beer on me. Run inside, sneak into my room, and my brother uh, I look out the window and I see that my brother is getting carried to this cop car. I was like, "Fuck, Nick's going to jail. 16-year-old going to jail." Little did I know at the time he's a juvenile, so he will not be going to jail. But the cop brings him up to the door. Probably 30 minutes later, me and my buddy are hanging out, like we're hiding in my room, which I'm actually sharing with my other brother, and we're hiding in the room. We think, "Oh my God, the cops are on us. They're going to come get us." Because, growing up, we're trained to be afraid of the cops because we were going to be in trouble. And they bring my brother up the stairs. They knock on the door. Um, I could hear him ask, "Hey, is this your kid?" And it's my stepdad that answers the door, and he's like, "It is." And they have a short conversation outside. The cop's like, "Hey, I'm gonna hand him over to you. You know, don't let him leave, and this is keeping him from going to jail tonight because he's running, he's got liquor on him, blah blah blah. I'm sure he had other shit on him. He probably had weed or something else. He wasn't innocent. He was dealing. 16-year-old in the hood. Some people on here could relate. They might have grown up in a similar situation. Um, the cops hand him over. He comes in the house. My fucking stepdad, because my brother being 16 and playing football, had some weight on him. The cops leave. My brother starts being an ass, and then he gets put through the drywall. Fucking lineman hold through the drywall. Takes off, jumps off the second story balcony, gone. You know, it's we are a creature of our environment. We are. It doesn't matter what type of person you are. We are a creature of the people that are around us. And by no means at all should I have not done something similar or behaved the same way as he did. But no, I didn't. I have the utmost respect for him and the fact that he has been able to take his life full circle. And uh, from that moment on, I'm going to continue. I'm going to end this story. From that moment on, he was on the run, and then he was on the run, and then he kind of continued doing some stupid shit. He was on the run for a little while, and he ended up moving out. I might have the ages wrong, but he ended up moving to fucking Illinois. Like, this dude ran away to be with the abusive father, the abusive sperm donor that had fucking 15 years older, 15 years earlier, beat the absolute shit out of all three of us and my mom. I mean, an act of desperation. Do not fall victim of your circumstances. Do not. And I couldn't preach that anymore. Everybody will always have their opinion on how you should do things. Everybody. It doesn't matter who you are and where you are. Your family will. You will. Your friends will. It doesn't matter. Your colleagues will. If you feel like the decision you need to make is best for you, make the decision. If you need to change your life for you, make the decision. The decision you didn't make, because someone else didn't think it was a good idea for you, do your fucking research. If it's the right move for you to make the move. You know how many people supported me leaving California to move to Texas? Not very many. It's still not, in public opinion, the best move for me. But I'm out here fucking grinding. I'm out here working. I love my job. I love doing this. I love helping people as a whole, any way I can. But if you fall victim to if you fall victim to your insecurities, if you fall victim to the lack of ability to make a decision, the lack of ability to say no, the peer pressure, the fact that you have to be around people, make the decision for you, because the most important opinion that is out there is your own. So we're going to move on from that. It's about 18 minutes. I felt like that was a pretty good roll there. I'm going to go and say that all of the facts that might have come up in that story were the best of my recollection. And if my brothers hear that and they have a different opinion, I would love to talk about it on here. Just because there are so many stories from our childhood. There's so many actions that happened during our childhood that we should have fallen victim to. We should have fallen victim into the system and been just like everybody else that has fallen victim to the system. My mom did the best she could. My grandpa was more like my father figure for me. And I have nothing wrong with my dad, the stepdad that I have. But in the situation, my grandpa was there for me more. And he came through a lot. Do not fall victim to your environment.